Alright, so today I want to go over cameras and what we've been using the past little while, what we started with, what we've moved away from, what we're still using, and maybe some pros and cons of each camera. So right now the camera I'm shooting on, this is my go-to camera. This is something I'll pull off the tripod and talk about in a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through each stage for me and how I transitioned. So when I first started out, I had no idea what I was doing, and I started just Googling and searching on YouTube and trying to find articles of how to film hunts, how to film outdoor adventures, what cameras I should use, what accessories I should use for those cameras, and I didn't really find a lot that I felt to be helpful. So I'm making a video for what I'm currently doing, what's working for me and what's working for the team, and hopefully that helps somebody out there. If not, it's a waste of time, but I know it's something I wanted at some point in my life, and so maybe there's somebody in that stage and this might benefit them. So I'm going to start with the first thing that I started using to film hunts and fishing trips and adventures and whatever else I could do, and that's just my phone. So the first phone that I started filming with was an iPhone 11, I believe. Worked great. Honestly, it's hard to beat the quality camera that you get from smartphones, whether it's an Android, a Apple product. They put a lot of time and energy and money into their cameras. So right now what I'm using is the iPhone 14 Pro, so it's got 3 cameras. It's great. The biggest problem I had with using my iPhone was remembering to pull it out of my pocket to capture something. And I didn't feel like I could get certain angles or zoom shots or different types of content felt challenging to me with the phone. But honestly, if there's somebody out there and all they have is a phone and they want to start filming adventures, whether it's in the outdoor industry and they're going hunting and they want to film their hunt, or they're going fishing, or whatever it is, you can't beat the phone. And the first step is just doing it. The first step is just, let's get our feet wet, let's figure this thing out, and using a phone is the perfect way to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to swap to my phone camera, and the goal for this video is I'm going to use the same tripod position, the same lighting position, so that way you can get a good comparison of each phone product. So I'm going to get this set up with my iPhone, and then we're going to start talking from that so you can kind of see the comparison here, and then I'll just keep moving my way up, but let's get that changed out. Okay, so this is the iPhone 14 Pro. Like I said, I started with the iPhone 11, and I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about the camera and the phone itself. It's high quality. It gives you good capability of taking pictures, taking photos, and it's really lightweight and easy to carry around. So there's really not a lot of cons to the iPhone. One thing that I did find, especially when I was using something like a bugle tube or a duck call, is the phone automatically adjusts how it intakes audio. So if you have something high pitched or high volume, it's going to muffle sound for a little bit and then readjust. So if I were to do like a calling sequence and then try to talk to the camera, my call would be really nice and crisp, and then as I start to transition into talking, that's going to be really muffled and kind of hard to hear, so I'd have to adjust that on the back end with editing. But really nothing bad to say about the iPhone. It works great. The biggest issue that I personally had was just remembering to take it out of my pocket and use it. And there would be times when I had this set up on my phone scope and I wanted to talk to the camera and I was still filming animals, and I didn't want to have to try and change that. So other than that, it works really great. I have no complaints about it, aside from those 2 things, but those were more personal. It wasn't functionality at all. So after the iPhone, I wanted to get something that I could hold in my hand and maybe strap to myself and film with. So What I tried to use a little bit was a camcorder, little handy camcorder. So this is the Canon R800. This is actually an old camera that I've had for a few years, even before I started doing wide range adventures. And this thing is honestly, it's great. It works nice, really lightweight, easy to use. The battery lasts a decent amount of time, but if I were to use this, I'd want multiple batteries. So it's got a shutter to open and close to protect the camera, and then you can zoom in and out a little bit. Other than that, essentially you just open it up, turn it on, and you just start shooting, start talking, and you're ready to go. One thing that I ran into with this camera was I needed certain lighting for the video to come out nice, and the audio was pretty crummy from just the camera itself, but it does have a aux port, so I can attach a external mic to it. So like I said, you couldn't attach the mic to the camera. So what I ended up buying was this little Scorpion handhold. The camera would essentially sit and mount here, and then I can attach lights and mics to it. But that became really bulky and annoying to carry around, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I pretty much phased out of this camera pretty fast for those reasons. But like I said, it is a really nice camera. I'm going to swap over to it now so you can see and hear it, just the camera itself, and you can get an idea of how it would work. Alrighty, so this is using that Canon R800 camcorder. Just the camera, no mic, sitting on the same tripod as the last two cameras with the same lighting that I have over here. Like I said, the biggest complaints that I had with that was attaching an external mic or lighting source to it, and I ended up needing to use this here, this Scorpion handhold device, which this works great, but it's not good for solo use or just carrying around with you, because there's really nowhere to put it. Really bulky, just not ideal. Works fine, but again, just personal preference. I didn't care for it. Now there are some adjustments that can be made with this camera. You can adjust the exposure a little bit. You can zoom in and out with this camera, but it all comes at a price. Like I said, this is a camera that's a few years old. It works fine, but as technology progresses, some of the features of this camera are just easily beat with something as simple as an iPhone. So I tried this for I think 2 different trips or 2 different videos, and I'll post a video for each, like a little clip from each camera. I'll post a clip of them from each one, so you can kind of see what they look like when I was using them. But this is the camcorder. It's okay, not my personal favorite. Still works fine, but that's all there is to this one. So the next thing we're going to swap to is the next purchase I made as far as cameras. And this was one that I mostly wanted to get to help me out while I'm waterfowl hunting and fishing. But I quickly realized there's a lot of features for this, and I started filming a lot more with this camera for a little while and filmed a hunt with it. And it worked great. So that's my GoPro. This is the GoPro 10 Black, the Hero 10 Black. It works great. Now I'll talk about some features with this and some accessories with this, because this is really, when I bought this, this is when I started to really understand a little bit more about videography and editing and accessories that can maybe help with trying to get a certain level of quality content. So let's swap over the GoPro and I'll start talking from that. Okay, so this is using the GoPro Hero 10 Black. There are some ways that you can adjust the exposure and the lighting to kind of dim it down a little bit, because that's one thing that this GoPro does, is it really lets in a lot of light, which is a good thing in low light conditions, but it can be harsh midday or for something like this when the lighting's bright. That's one complaint I had about the GoPro. The other was sound quality. So one of the first accessories that I purchased to kind of work on that is the media mod. So I'm gonna pause real quick, throw on the media mod, and then we're gonna get back to filming. So let's do that real quick. Alrighty, so essentially what the media mod does is it allows you to attach external mics and external lighting sources directly to your GoPro, and you can use it for vlogging and to improve some of the quality of the GoPro footage. So what I would use for it is a rechargeable light. Super easy light, has a couple settings. Really nice. I would just attach it to the top and then attach a mic to the side. But the media mod has a mic on it, and in my opinion the quality of that mic is better than the normal GoPro. One of the issues I had with the GoPro is battery life. They would die quickly, especially if it's really cold or really hot. And even though I have 6 batteries, sometimes you just burn through them really fast. So GoPro's great. It has its features, it has its purpose, but for higher quality videos, I just want a little bit more. So what I ended up going to after the GoPro is a DSLR camera with an external mic. So this is the Panasonic Lumix FZ300. I have loved this camera, and I'm going to swap to this camera and talk about it more here. So let's get swapped. Alrighty, so this is the camera that I started the video with. This is the camera that I film all of my stuff with now, whether I'm going out solo or if I'm going out with somebody and I'm going to help film for them. This is the camera I'm going to use. It works really great. It has a couple downsides to it, but for the most part I've loved this camera. So this is a DSLR camera that does not have an interchangeable lens. So what that means is it has a fixed lens with a fixed aperture, and once you go down the rabbit hole you're gonna better understand what aperture means, but it's essentially like depth of field for how you're seeing footage or pictures or video, whatever. But this camera is, we've all kind of come to the same consensus that this is the perfect do everything camera for our purposes and our current needs. It has an incredible zoom on it. We can attach external mics, whether it's attached to the camera or if we just do a lapel system. It's awesome. I love this camera. So biggest complaints about this camera: it's big, it's a little bulky, and if I'm trying to self-film I have to use a second tripod. But because it's so big I can't put it in my pocket, and I always have it either on my chest right here on my shoulder strap or it's on my hip, but I can physically see it and feel it, and it's an easy reminder of like, hey, pull your camera out, get some content. So this camera's been great, and again I've gone through from phones to the little handy cam and to the GoPro, and they all work great, they all have their purpose, but this is what I've landed on, and this is what I'm going to use for the next little while, especially because I told my wife I'm happy with it, so I kind of have to. But yeah, this camera's great. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna pull little snippets out of videos that I filmed with each of these cameras, just so you can see how they've looked in the end after editing and after I've attached a mic to them or used certain lighting or whatever.
Okay, we got a buck spotted. He's feeding kind of towards us. So I get up on this little ridge right in front of me. See if he feeds right from underneath.
Alright guys, a little update for you. I have shot 4 birds. 2 of them I lost in the reeds I cannot find. One of them played chicken with me for a while, kept dropping down in the water. Just 4 main buckles to detach that lid. They have 2 pockets here, one large pocket for the main compartment of the lid and one smaller pocket. This small top pocket, what goes in there for me is my headlamp. This is they all are great. So the biggest advice that I would give to anybody watching this video that's just wanting to learn, how do I film my trips, adventures, my hunts, whatever it is you're just trying to get started in filming, just grab whatever camera you have, whether it's a phone, whether it's an old handy cam, and just start doing it. Because the biggest thing is you just need to learn angles, lighting, and how to use your equipment. Because I promise I could hand somebody with a lot more skills than I have, I could hand them this handy cam and they would make a better video than I could with this camera here. It's more about your skill set and your knowledge than it is about the camera you have. So don't let that be a barrier to you. If you're watching this and you have anything with a camera, just get started. But if you have a little money that you want to spend, all of these are very affordable. This camera that I'm talking to right now, you can get on Amazon right now for like $400, I think, which in the scheme of cameras and DSLR cameras and all these things is incredibly cheap. It is an awesome camera, and then you can get a $30 mic to attach to it, or you can get a $200 mic to attach to it. It doesn't matter. But I would highly recommend, if you are going to go this route with this camera, you do get a mic. And I'll talk about the mic that I use. I'm just going to use the second. I'm just going to use the muff for it, essentially. So what is on my camera is the Rode VideoMic Pro 2. It's awesome. I've used cheaper mics and they have a little bit of static to them, but they work great. This has been my favorite mic so far and it hasn't failed yet. But again, just get started. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below with questions you have about any of these cameras or about ways that you can learn how to start filming. But thank you for watching. We appreciate all the support we get. And again, if this video wasn't for you, I appreciate you watching. But thank you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and you leave a comment on this video. And as always, get lost in the adventure.